And a news update today for April 23rd, which will probably go out on the 24th, 2018, Monday. Well, anyway, you heard the update from our court experience, and we also want to tell you some breaking news stories. President George Bush Sr., is recovering from a blood infection that he received, some infection that went into his blood. And at age 93, he's been put on intensive care unit, and he's at his house responding to treatment, so they think that he's going to recover, which is wonderful to hear. I mean, he's just lost his wife just a few weeks ago. So please be in prayer for George Bush Sr. And also, other news story, they found a 2-year-old infant in a suitcase in New Jersey on the railroad tracks. And the guy was picked up in Puerto Rico, which he has to be extradited back to New Jersey to face the trial of killing his daughter and putting her remains in a suitcase. He's being charged for desecrating remains. And why would anybody, the question I ask is, why in the world would anybody do that to a child, nor an adult, or anyone else? Matter of fact, in Richmond, they may be expecting a tax as high as 80 cents on cigarettes. This only applies to the city of Richmond. So probably what will happen is we'll see an uptake of business in the surrounding counties outside the city because of the high 88-cent tax that will be levied on cigarettes. They say this money will help generate monies for repairs and for maintenance to all Richmond public schools in the Richmond area. So that's why this tax is being levied on cigarettes. A lot of people in the stores and merchants are not very happy about that tonight. And I don't think a lot of residents are very happy either, because they're paying a lot of taxes to live there in Richmond already. That's just something to think about. And then they're going to add another 80-cent tax on every pack of cigarettes on top of that. I don't know how that's going to sell real well. But anyway, we have more news stories coming up. Stay tuned. Well, more on that story about raising money on the taxes for Richmond Public Schools. They had a city meeting tonight, council meeting in Richmond, about that, and they feel like there may be other ways on how to get that money instead of having to put a levy, 80-cent tax on cigarettes. So we'll keep you up to date on that right here on our station. We'll be back with more stories. Next, coming up, the next story. And more on the cigarette story. They said that it would cost business owners, if they put a 80-cent tax on every pack of cigarettes, would actually force them, a lot of merchants out of business throughout the Richmond area, because it would cost them nearly 40% of their overall revenue to operate. So they would lose that money. So that's another reason why this proposal was rejected. Now, they had debate on both sides, but it seems like they debated it at the time. Maybe one reason is because maybe a lot of people there smoke themselves. That could be the reason. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know. But there could be some reason on that, because they would all have to pay that tax. And of course, that is a huge tax. It's a whopper tax. But anyway, we'll be back. Also, another story is they had a meeting in Henrico County on how to improve the race divisions and the equality in schools. So they hired a girl by the name of Monica Mann to help team up that effort for the Henrico County schools. She is what we call a relations or tension smoother outer, expert. So she's actually become new to Henrico County public school systems as of last week. Well, more on this story. Stay tuned. She works at the office of the lady that was hired in Henrico, works at the office at Equity of Diversity. So she's one of those experts to help smooth out tensions in the Henrico County public school system, which is probably something they need because of the diversity in the the type of diversity that they have with so many people in the class, and how there are a lot of gangs in a lot of schools over there. And that may be why they had to hire this diversity equity expert to try to help smooth tensions between different gangs and rival gangs and other factors that are in the school. We'll keep you up to date as we know more. Keep it right here on the Silvis Media in the News. Also in weather news is saying that the rain will not be hitting the area here till sometime early tomorrow morning. In the Richmond and Hanover surrounding areas, we will see an impact of rain overspread the area. But like I said, the key word is the rain will be sporadic. It won't rain constantly all day, but it will rain in periods of 1 to 2 hour ratios or intervals. And of course, the rain will be anywhere from 2 to even 3 inches. Expect aerial depths of that rain falling out of the clouds in certain areas over the area tomorrow. However, be careful and don't go too fast with rain, because remember, you can hydroplane and lose control of your car if there's water between the road and your tires. You may lose control or traction. So remember not to go fast. Kind of slow down a little bit by 5 miles to maybe 8 miles depending on your vehicle and your profile of your vehicle. Keep it right here on Love FM and also in the news. We have more news stories coming up. Remember, the rain won't be impacting this area. It will impact this area for tomorrow morning, early tomorrow morning, probably around rush hour in the morning, or a little bit before that, maybe after midnight, somewhere around there, probably 4 to 6 a.m. And it will continue off and on all the way through Wednesday. So keep it right here. We got more news stories coming up. Okay, coming from WTVR Channel 6, today's weather-wise question. The question is, how many NEXRAD radar sites are located in the state of Virginia? Now, the choices are A, B, C. A is being 2, B is being 3, and C is being 4. Stay tuned for the answer. Boy, do we have a story for a 90-year-old man who works in Henrico County in public relations. They actually have named a street in honor of his continuing effort as being a good worker. The county has actually named a road dubbed after him. Isn't that wonderful? And today he gave a wonderful emotional response. Boy, I'd be very emotional too. That is just awesome to be named after a street in the county of which you live. That's an honor. We'll keep you up to date. Keep it right here. Would you believe, just for your FYI, that in the state of Virginia that around 26,000 accidents happened due to distracted driving or driving behavior last year alone in the state of Virginia? 26,000 accidents. Wow, statistically, that's a lot. Also, they have made April, because of that fact, Driver Awareness Month. So in April, every April will be now known as Driver Awareness Month in the state of Virginia. The man that we talked about in Henrico County in the last story, before we talked about the other stories that we brought up after his story, has actually worked for Henrico County for 7 years, and that's why Henrico made a sign for him, because of his honor and achievement of what he did by working with them in public relations for so long. I go back to the story, it's wonderful. They say that he's the longest serving county employee in the whole county history of Henrico, working there in public relations. The 90-year-old's name is Elvin Cosby. No, he's not no relation to Bill Cosby, but he's Elvin Cosby, who works for public relations in Henrico County. He's 72 years old. So I don't know how he was working for 70 years. Maybe they told that story wrong, but he's 72 years old. I think they meant that he was 72 years old, and he's been working there for a number of years. But anyway, Elvin Cosby does not mind telling people in his place of where he works in public relations, telling other people how good of a job that they're doing, because he knows what it feels like to start at the bottom when he first started. So he doesn't mind giving people that encouragement and that morale boost, just like himself, that other people gave him along the way. Oh, correction, he's worked for the county for 72 years. I was reading that wrong. So that was my mistake. He worked for the county for 72 years, which is an achievement in itself. to say the least. But he started off making 25 cents an hour, taking water out to the employees of the road public works in the county that work on the roads. He would deliver water to them. And that's how he first got started there in Henrico County. And then he kind of moved up the ranks throughout the various ranks and different positions throughout the years where he is today in public relations. Now at age 90, Elvin Cosby works as a supervisor for Henrico County at age 90. And he loves his job, every minute of it. As a Channel 6 news anchor gave an interview with Mr. Elvin Cosby, he goes on to state and talks about how Henrico County changed from when he first started working for Henrico County for Public Works in 1949 to how it's changed to the state and how it looks today in 2018, which a lot has changed since then, as Elvin Cosby does attest to, which it surely has.
Opportunities for blacks.
We got a lot of black now, higher place, bar I never seen.
And now it's the county's turn to thank Mr. Cosby for his service. Mr. Cosby wiped away.
As you heard on TV, we had that going. But, they're thanking him, as you just heard, for his many years of avid service, an honorable service on the job of 72 years. He's wiping away the tears, I tell you. This is just an emotional thing. I know it would be very emotional for me, to say the least, if that happened to me. Henrico wanted to do something for him for all the work that he's contributed through all the years of being a dedicated employee. A black man who has done a lot of achievement and has accomplished a lot in his time. A wonderful, nice black man. And I think this fits. It definitely is fitting for the achievements of what he's done in the service of him working as an employee for Henrico County. They actually surprised him by naming a street called Elvin Cosby Way in honor of his dedicated service. And he was clapping, and he was just fighting back the tears, because I tell you, they would be a-flowing on me if somebody did that. I tell you what, that's something else. Keep it right here. Mr. Cosby, even at age 90, says he has no plans of retiring anytime soon. And as a matter of fact, a lot of their workers there, other workers have said I've said that he's an inspiration and a fine example for all of us there. So that says a whole lot about Mr. Elvin Cosby. And that's awesome, and that's good. Hey, did you know that April is known as National Canine Fitness Month? I didn't know that. But it is. This is where they try to keep all the canines and all the dogs healthy. And the month of April is where they focus on just that. They encourage that many of the people try to keep the dogs, their canines, physically active and in good health and in good spirits. Not just in April during Canine Health Observance Month, but all year round. To various activities and things that you can do with your canine friend to keep them in good, chipper shape. We'll be back with more news. Okay, the answer to how many NEXRAD radar sites are in the state of Virginia. And the answer was B, 3. Chesterfield, there's Wakefield and Chesterfield, and I think there's another one. I don't know what the third site is, but they have to have 3 in order to have equal radar coverage. So the answer is 3 for that question in weather-wise knowledge earlier, just to let you know. We'll be back with more news stories. Stay tuned. We do believe that the third NEXRAD radar weather station is located in Blacksburg, Virginia. So it's Wakefield, and we said the other one, I can't remember what we said, and then Blacksburg. Keep it right here, and of course, we'll have other news coming up. So like we said, that's some of the top stories for tonight. And of course, as you know, Mr. Davis in California is trying to make the Bible illegal. Did you know in Canada, a number of preachers were arrested for speaking on the subject matter of homosexuality and immorality? I said immorality. And messed up there. But like we say, we don't have a teleprompter. I'm just doing this off the top of my head. And of course, they were arrested last week in Canada. So that's what could be in store for us here in America if we don't wake up and stop this crazy runaway train. It's like they're trying to legalize Christianity. The end goal will be just that. We'll have to go in churches that are in people's homes, meaning underground. That's what it would be, in people's private homes. Because you will not be able to meet, once this all goes into effect, in a building. Churches will become empty places because they won't meet in churches anymore because of the fear of persecution and the fear of being arrested and locked up and detained. It has not happened yet, but that's where it is. That's where it's all going, folks. And like we said, the sign of the times is very clear, like what it says in the book of Revelation, that even saying the name of Jesus or even preaching or teaching the name openly and publicly, like you can do right now, will become illegal. And that's the final goal. Now, the first step of that block is where they're trying to ban the Bible as being an illegal book, because these secular groups, these atheists and other groups don't want to hear the truth. They want to block the truth, so that's why they come up with this ridiculous. And I think they were probably smoking some grass down there in California because, they got that legally there. So, some of these weird laws that they have imposed on in California that have actually eventually taken effect across the nation, like this one, if it gets through, it's going to affect the Bible. It may affect Logos Bible. It may affect a lot of things on the books of Christian books and authors, because they may outban them because of what they say in them, which is totally wrong, because when they do that inadvertently, they're taking away your freedom of speech and freedom of religion and expression of. And that's really an attack on the First Amendment for Christianity. But meanwhile, Islam, Muslims, they can talk about people and kill homosexuals and speak out against it. Nothing happens to them. But when it comes to Christian people, they get arrested and get persecuted, and maybe eventually get put in jail for doing the same thing. Which that's not freedom in America. That's not what America is. Also, net neutrality has actually the laws for net neutrality for equal access for everyone has actually expired. So what is allowed to happen is now providers now can actually charge you whatever they feel is best for certain things and for certain vendors and or streaming services. And so now a lot of states have laws on the books to kind of protect net neutrality, so it will be equal, and try to protect the consumer and the internet user of all types of users to have equal or fair access, which is good. In the state of Virginia, we have some of that. But they're working on writing more laws to help protect individuals so they can have fair access and still have the same protections and rights and privileges like everyone should have. There should not be 3 or 4 different tiers of internet level services. Everyone should get the same type of experience. They should not come and make a regulation for that, because that's not freedom. They're regulating the internet. I mean, we see stuff like this going on in China and Canada and in Europe and UK areas, regions of the world, and in Africa and in Japan. And that's what they're trying to bring over here in America. So be looking out for that, because this is really what has happened, folks. Stay tuned for more news. This is some of the news stories happening right now. You have been pwned. Not really. You have been hit with a bunch of updates from the news that happened today on the 23rd of April. Keep it right here. It's Michael DeSilvas with In the News Updates on YouTube and on Love FM.